Welcome. My name is Sherry Moss. I'm the Associate Dean of MBA programs at Wake Forest University, and I'm also a professor of organizational behavior. And I'm excited to be here today to interview one of our alumni, Lauren Dockery.
My name is Lauren Dockery. I graduated from the Charlotte Evening MBA program in 2020.
So Lauren, we met in the summer of 2020 in an elective class,
Yes.
and I enjoyed having you in class.
Loved your classes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We actually had 2 classes together, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 classes, both in the summer of 2020, so they were both online classes.
Right, we had to go online and switch over
Yes.
after COVID.
That was definitely interesting, just because my full first year was in person with the Monday and Wednesday evening nights, and then switching to the online format. It was an interesting change, but I think the school really handled and adapted that really well.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, it was a scramble to get ready. But let's go back a little bit and let me talk to you or ask you about why you chose to come to the MBA program at Wake Forest in Charlotte.
Absolutely. So getting my MBA was something I had always wanted to do. My family was very adamant about getting your master's degree. It was always, you go to high school, you go to college, you get your master's. So it was up to me of what type of master's program I wanted. My career, before I went to the MBA program, we're all focused around business, working within retail apparel type environments. Once I was able to understand what kind of program I wanted to go to, and then wanting the Wake Forest name attached, that was kind of a done deal for me. The evening program particularly really spoke to me because it was easy for me to be able to go to class, it was really easy for me to be able to go to class right after work. Didn't have a family, was single. It just really worked out for me very well. So being able to leave work, come straight to class, the meals, they had the meals catered and prepared. So it was easy for me to just leave work, eat, and then just start class. So that's something that I really liked. And then having the ability to have my Saturdays open until I started my second year where we met.
So Lauren, you mentioned not wanting to quit your job and get an MBA, but rather to study part-time in the evenings while you were working.
Correct.
And I remember when I met you, you were working in retail.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, you've made a pretty big career pivot.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about that career pivot and maybe how the MBA helped you make that change?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started the program, I was pretty early in my career. During my time in the MBA program, I had maybe 2 or 3 promotions at the same company. And I think it was kind of a combination of, my work ethic that I had shown already within my company, and then also being in the MBA program, I think it proved to my leaders, I think it proved to my managers that I was, committed to growth. I think it showed that I was committed to bettering myself, learning more, and I think that was really something that helped propel me upwards, because if I was willing to work on myself, they were really willing to invest that same time back into me. And most recently, I'm now a finance manager within supply chain transportation. So completely different shift from the merchandising role that I had originally. And I think it goes back to, having those interviews, having those connections where people saw that I had my MBA, and they knew at that point that I was someone who is going to strive to do my best, someone who is going to just really take the time to figure out the business, even though I didn't know anything really about it originally. I think it was that they knew I would have that mindset and have that grit to be able to accomplish something, because that's what the MBA program is, right? It's really just it's learning lots of things in a short period of time, and to be able to juggle all of that and to be able to come out on the other side learning more, just having a different perspective. I think that's really what the business world is all about in general.
So Lauren, I remember when we first met, it was in a leadership elective class that you took in the summer of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after we had all pivoted from being in class
Right.
to being online. And on this particular day that I remember, we had a Saturday class, and it was the weekend after the murder of George Floyd. And so we were not only dealing with a pandemic, but we were dealing with a horrible situation in our society. And I felt like in the leadership class that day, we needed to take a little time at the beginning of class and just see if students needed to debrief and share their feelings about that before moving on, because it was such a salient
Yep.
and difficult situation. And so I don't know if you want to talk about what you remember about that day in class.
Yeah. One thing I really appreciated about the faculty at Wake Forest was that they always tied the real world events, what was going on, whether it be social, whether it be, political within the economy. I think they always brought that back into the classroom and opened up that for discussion. And I really appreciated that, especially with something that hit so close to home for me personally as a Black woman. And one thing that was disheartening for me was that with the company I was at the time, they didn't have much of a voice or an opinion on the matter at all. And so I think with that, I felt really hurt. And I know within class, when you brought up the open forum for us to talk, I was able to share how, I was personally impacted by my company not supporting that. And it was great as a leader within this organization that you were there and open to listen and, have that open forum for us to talk through. And I know that kind of gave me that confidence to really go to my leaders at my company and really try to really write everything out. And it was just really great to be able to, communicate that and have that confidence communicate that, even though the response still wasn't what I, had anticipated. I think it still just comes down to being a person who wants to stand by something greater, and just being able to communicate that and not being afraid to communicate that to people, especially who are a lot higher up than you, have a lot more power and things of that sort. So I felt just really compelled and thankful that I was able to do that and had that community behind me to be able to have those conversations.
Clearly, there's been a transition within you in terms of your
Absolutely.
confidence and your skills that you have gained over the course of the MBA. So if somebody were asking you why an MBA, what would you tell them? Why an MBA? Why an MBA from Wake Forest?
I think for me, it really comes down to career growth. So I think it just really opened up doors for potential career opportunities and really allowed me to, how I mentioned my trajectory. It really helped shape my trajectory as I've moved through my, as I've grown older in my career. So that's one of the main things. I think another thing that's not talked about as much is the connections you make, the people you meet. My study team specifically, the team that you're, automatically assigned to during your first year, I was the only female in my group. All the other members of my study team were white males in different industries, and I was like, are we gonna be able to figure this out? And it's just amazing how we all are able to learn from each other. It's everyone is just really reaching towards the same goal and wants to help each other out. And I know there are some things that I wasn't as strong in that someone else on my study team was, and they were able to help me and teach me. And I think that was something that I really, really valued within the program. Just everyone helping each other out. And even just the friendships that are made, talking to people outside during breaks, getting to know people, finding common interests. I mean, I'm still friends with people that was in my class even today. And I think those relationships and, being connected with some of these people on LinkedIn, seeing how they're continuing to grow, seeing the promotions that they're getting, it's just really all it's exciting to see because how much they worked, how hard they worked, how hard we all worked. So it's great having that support system, and it's great supporting other people. So I think the connections piece is just huge And like I said, one of the jobs that I got was through a connection, not necessarily within the Wake Forest program, but I think it just reiterates the fact that connections that you make, regardless of where it's at, are just very important for career, for social, for any sort of change that you're wanting to make within yourself. So, like I said, really important for the connections that you make, really important for opening up the job market for yourself. And I think it challenges yourself too. And I think that's the biggest thing, and the biggest thing that helps you within your own job is that it challenges you to think differently. It challenges you to, and one thing I really liked is it does challenge you to look at opposing views. And I think that just makes you as a leader just become just more enlightened. And I think that's just all very, very important. So I was talking to someone at my current job the other day who's maybe a year out of undergrad, and she was wanting to get my advice on an MBA program. And I was telling her, absolutely. I tell everyone who is considering to go to definitely get one. I told her specifically, I went to the Wake Forest evening program. And for me, that was like the perfect program for me. The faculty, my peers, the way the classrooms and the sessions were conducted, it just made me feel like I was at home. Like this became my second home. And it felt comfortable being here. So I always will toot this program just because it helped me so much personally, and just to become more confident and a better leader overall.